If you're staring at your inbox and you're waiting on all those UK manufacturers to reply to your email that's got a title, something like, quick question about my fashion range, you're going to be waiting a while. The thing is, you might think that UK factories are just plain rude because they're not getting back to you, but that is not the case. Chances are it's probably because they've realised that you're just not ready yet. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to take you through the red flags that make manufacturers hit the delete button faster than you can say low MOQ. Like, we're talking about those emails that just scream newbie, pretty much guaranteed to get you ghosted. But don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom, because I'm going to be giving you the insider tips that I have learned from working with hundreds of UK brands and introducing them to UK manufacturers. So that the next email that you send doesn't just sit there gathering digital dust, but actually is one that manufacturers want to get back to you. So here's a pretty sobering stat for you. UK manufacturers tell me that 3/4 of the inquiries that they receive are just too vague or irrelevant for them to actually be able to answer. And it's not because you've just got a really crap idea or that your designs are really terrible. It's usually because your email is telling the factory that you've basically never stepped inside a factory, you don't understand how it all works, and you'll probably waste their precious time. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. Manufacturers, when they receive an email, what they're looking for is partners. They are not looking for projects that they have to handhold from day one. They want to work with people who are prepared, who understand the process, and who speak their language. So if you're sick of sending emails into the void and you're getting nothing in return, then stick around, because this is for you. So there are several red flags that a manufacturer will look out for when they get an email from someone. And I'm going to take you through what those red flags are and how you can make sure that you avoid them. So red flag number 1 is the vague inquiry. So picture it from a manufacturer's perspective. They open their inbox, it's already overflowing, they've got hundreds of emails, and there's an email that just says, I need 500 premium t-shirts, what's your price? Now that is pretty much an instant delete, because a factory is not a vending machine. They don't just spit out t-shirts at a flat rate. They need details, and they need really specific details. Things like the weight of the fabric you're going to use, the fibre composition, what sizes you're looking for, all of those things really count. And ideally, you've got it all written up in a tech pack, which is basically an industry standard document for how you want your product to be made. Because when you send a really vague email to a manufacturer, like, what's the price of 100 t-shirts, you're not just asking them a question. What you're asking them to do is actually interpret what it is that you really want. Like, you're leaving them guessing otherwise. They're guessing on your experience level, although they can probably guess that you're a newbie. They're probably also wondering whether you've actually got any budget for doing this. And they're also thinking, are all conversations with this person going to be that difficult to understand going forward? Am I going to have to spend hours trying to interpret everything? Because when you send that vague email that's got the title of something like, can you make me 100 t-shirts and how much is it going to cost? What you're actually doing is not just asking a question, but you're also creating a work for that manufacturer, because they've got to work out and interpret what it is you actually really need. So then you're going to have a backwards and forwards of, okay, what sort of fabric do you want? Do you have a tech pack? What sizes? Rather than the first email that you send to them actually being really clear and putting it all in one email. So what you've got to do is show them that you've done your homework and that you understand the basics. So instead of saying, I want 100 t-shirts, how much are they going to cost? You need to say something like, I'm looking to order 100 pieces of 220 GSM organic cotton interlock men's t-shirts. My tech pack is attached. That one line instantly puts you in the top 5% of inquiries they're going to get that day. It shows them that you're serious, you understand the industry, you've thought about your product, and you're actually ready to talk business, and you're not just full of dreams or a design on the back of a fag packet. So red flag number 2 is that you don't look like you're a real business. So I'm going to be brutally honest for a moment, which I always am. Manufacturers are not just reading your email, they are going to be checking you out. They're going to be looking at your Instagram account, if you've got one. And if they see like one post done 2 years ago saying coming soon and nothing else, then they're not going to think you're that credible. They're going to think, well, why has this person spent the last 2 years and still not got their brand off the ground and still got no clue? The same goes for your email address. Like, if you're sending from an email that's something like cutiepie21@hotmail.com, they are going to judge you. It takes nothing to at least set up a Gmail account with the name of your brand in that title, rather than an old email that looks like you set it up when you were 13. And don't get me wrong, it's not about being a big brand. There's nothing wrong with being a startup, and lots of UK manufacturers will work with startups. But you need to come across professional from day one, because the manufacturer's not just quoting for this first initial order. In fact, most UK manufacturers don't really make any money on that first order. What they're actually doing is asking themselves, can this person actually sell this product? Are they likely to come back with a second and third production run, or are they just a total one-hit wonder? So before you even think about pressing send on that inquiry email, at least make sure you've got a professional looking email address, and that any social media accounts you've got actually reflect your brand and are not just full of funny cat videos. And the final red flag, and this is the biggest red flag of all, is having no tech pack, no pattern, and just no clue. So if you're reaching out with just a sketch on the back of a fag packet, or worse still, you're saying something like, oh, I need to just see a sample and get a price, and then I'll have an idea of what I want, that instantly puts you into what they would probably think of as the dreamer category. Good factories can't work with vague ideas. They need precise instructions to turn your concept into a finished product. So without a proper tech pack and creating a pre-production sample for you, it's really hard for them to actually quote you a price. Going to a manufacturer without a tech pack is like asking a builder to build you a house with no blueprints. You might get what you want, but it'll probably fall down after a few months. And if you're currently making everything in-house, or you're getting a seamstress to make it and you haven't got proper patterns, everything's on scraps of paper, or you've just been making it up as you go along, that is not going to work with a proper factory. Scaling up to factory production requires a totally different level of detail. So it's worth getting your patterns in order, making sure you've got your tech packs, and most importantly, going through your costings. So if you've been making everything in-house and you've not properly charged for your time, then chances are your pricing might not stack up to working with the factory. And if they check your website and they see your retail prices, they'll soon realise that, and they'll know instantly that it's a non-starter. So make sure you've gone through your numbers first and you know it's viable before you reach out to factories, rather than trying to do it the other way around. And don't worry if you've got no clue about tech packs or pricing, because they are things that I'm going to be covering in future episodes. One more trap that many people fall into when they're looking to work with UK manufacturers and they don't necessarily know what they're doing, or they're in too early a stage, is stumbling upon agents or sourcing companies who pretend to be UK factories. They usually turn up on the first page of Google and they promise the earth. They say all the right things. They'll say they can sort everything out for you, make your samples, make your whole production an absolute breeze. But here's what actually happens. They'll take your inquiry, they will add a massive markup, and then they will send it to a factory overseas. I've seen it happen time and time again. You think you're getting UK production, but actually you're not. What you're doing is near enough paying UK prices for offshore manufacturing, often with way less control and no real visibility. So let me give you a real example. So before I started working with my client Claire, she'd had an idea for an activewear brand for pregnant and postpartum mums, and she had done the usual. She'd searched on Google looking for UK manufacturers. Really smart woman. She'd worked previously in project management. She hadn't come from a design background, and that's absolutely fine. Most of the clients I work with don't come from design backgrounds. But she'd found this company online, looked really promising, flashy website, said they'd managed the whole process for her. But what actually happened was she ended up paying for loads of samples, and it wasn't until she'd started getting all these samples made that she actually found out they were a middleman operation and they were going to make everything in China. And when it came to actually placing her production order, they wanted £30,000, which she didn't have, and which they certainly didn't flag to her much earlier on in the process. She then found me, and she joined my British Brand Accelerator program, and I introduced her to some real UK manufacturers that she could work with directly. She got an initial small production order made in the UK, and it cost her under £1,000. But had she gone to that original company and carried on working with them, she would have spent 30 times that. So you've got to be really careful. If you are looking for a manufacturer too soon, The ones that actually do get back to your emails, you've got to ask yourself, why are they so desperate for the business? So just do your due diligence if you find any manufacturers in Google expecting them to be UK manufacturers when they promise you the earth, because they may not be. So if you're getting ghosted by UK manufacturers, do not worry. It's not some secret club that you're not invited to. It's actually a really efficient filter for them. It's their way of sorting through the mounting of emails that they've got and spotting the ones who are actually ready to work with them. So it's happened to you, don't take it personally. The moral of the tale here is if you've reached out to manufacturers and they've not got back to you, take it as a sign that you are probably not quite ready yet. Do some more preparation, get all your ducks in a row, and then you will be ready to work with a UK manufacturer.